Good morning. This is Larry, Francie. We're at a hydrogen fueling station here. Renewable Innovations, charging up our Rivian. I'm also going to take you for a drive of the Rolls Royce Spectre. But I figured Larry was out in the desert charging up all the Rebel Rally Rivians. And with hydrogen, super cool. I thought, well, let's plug in our truck. It's already down to 10% or something like that. We'll at least get the photo, and then you can meet me over at the Performance Center. Let it charge for a couple minutes or something.
Can I look inside this thing?
Oh, sure, of course. Open it up. So it's a fun morning.
I've just seen them on the internet.
Oh, yeah, well, hop in. Feel free to jump in and check it out. Crazy what goes on in Greenville, South Carolina. So the Terra 184 is starting up. 200 amp cables on this one. They do offer a high output version now, not when they spec this trailer is my understanding. So we're at 12% state of charge on the Rivian. I wanted to bottom calibrate it over the last day, sitting low, and let's see, is it going to dump in some juice? 60 kilowatts now, and that's about all we're going to get. 200 amps at really low pack voltage right there, maybe 70 kilowatts, and that sounds about right. Really nice Volvo V60 right here as well. Momentum trim, love that. So much going on, but the point of this video, of course, is to take you for a drive in the Rolls Royce Spectre for the first time on this channel. I've had it all night testing for out-of-spec reviews. I did efficiency testing, charge testing, a driving review, of course, and I also wanted to show you this hydrogen solution. I might try and make some time to make a full video on this solution, because over there is where the hydrogen is stored. Here's where it is converted into electrical energy and then dispensed into the chargers, which then dispense into the battery pack of the truck. It's doing full 200 amps now, 77 kilowatts at 13%. And you know, this is just such a cool solution because most of the time diesel generators are a thing. Larry's also got some level 2 units over here, inside and outside, mounted on the truck. Really cool situation. But enough of this. I have to get this to the Performance Center as soon as possible. So Francie will meet me over there in a few. So I'll see you over at the Performance Center. Always open up the door of a Rolls Royce underhanded. This is a Spectre, by the way. This one's spec to around $600,000, and Rolls Royce was cool enough to let me and Francie have it for the day. So we've really been enjoying it, but it's time for it to go to its next event, and I'm going to deliver it over there. So you join me in the Rolls Royce, hands-free, auto-closing door. Love that. Let's turn it on with the start button right down here. Forgive me if the camera angle isn't perfect here. Let's go to destination input. Let's go to BMW Performance. Wonder if they'll let us do some laps in this thing. BMW Performance Center in Greer. It has to be there at 7:30. Says it'll get there at 7:45. The time's not in daylight savings time. It is the quietest vehicle on the planet. I mean that unsarcastically. Those sirens, you can't hear them. It's insane. You'll probably hear me think, you'll probably hear me breathe. It's just crazy. So let's come out here, we'll make a U-turn. There's 3 or 4 degrees of rear steering, it feels like to me, something like that. So if I crank the wheel all the way, it just spins right on its center axis. It's just crazy. So there's the Rivian plugged into the hydrogen trailer, and we are off to the BMW Performance Center in Greer, South Carolina, also the BMW factory. And yeah, as my understanding, there are only 20 Rolls-Royce Spectres in the US right now, and I am driving one of them, which is just amazing. Market introduction has just happened. It just went on sale. And here we are now out for a cruise in, I would say, quite a special vehicle. I'm not sure how many they plan to build of these, to be honest. I hope a lot, because I kind of want them to get cheap on the secondary market. Who doesn't? Wouldn't it be great in 4 or 5 years when these things are 100 grand, pick them up on the cheap, still 100 grand, but you're getting a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 car, depending on the spec, for 100, 150. Now that seems like a very reasonable amount of money. Of course, with a Rolls Royce, reason goes out the window. This is an emotional purchase. It's it's purchased by people who appreciate quality, style, luxury, and just having the best without compromise. And that's what this is. This is the best driving experience in a luxury form I've ever had. You and I have driven BMW i7 together. We've driven EQS. We have driven really every electric car on the market we've been lucky enough to drive together. And there is nothing like the Rolls Royce Spectre. This is just crazy. This guy has his hazards on and he's dying. Did he just break down in the middle of the road? What the heck? What? I think he just died in the middle of the road. Yeah, he just shut his car off. Well, no matter. We don't have time in the Rolls Royce to help anyone. We have to get this to the BMW Performance Center before Rolls Royce kills me. So, yeah, I was thinking I would just steal this one because I really love it. Also, I think we're supposed to turn right here, East Washington. I think it's actually the next one. Ah, crap. Here I am missing turns again. I got a head-up display. I got this screen here. You would think I know how to handle turns, but I don't. By the way, if you're really looking for a comprehensive review of this car, don't watch this channel. I always tell you this is just my personal channel where we go have fun, drive things, and it's not too formal, not too serious. We just, do the things. And that's what we're doing now. I'm just bringing it over. I've already driven the car for a few hundred miles, so I'm very comfortable with it at this point, comfortable with the size, blown away still by the ride quality and noise performance. It is unlike any vehicle on the road. But again, if you want a full comprehensive review, please check out the Kyle Connor YouTube channel. There is a one-pedal driving mode. If I put it into B, I'll give you the specs on everything here in a moment, of course, but it's really smooth one-pedal driving calibration, even smoother than BMW's. If I lift off, it just has a gentle regen all the way down to 0, consistent deceleration, comes to a stop, nearly effortlessly, nearly perfectly. As I roll into the throttle, that is a heavy bottom hinged accelerator pedal that I would say almost mimics a V12 until you smack your foot down. This car does not have lag, unlike what many journalists that I've heard say, as soon as you put your foot down, boom, you get full power. I think because it's a long pedal travel and because it's quite a heavy pedal, yet people don't fully understand how responsive it actually is. So here goes a nice X3M. That's a BMW corporate car. All right, let's squeeze out here in the Spectre, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So we'll go gentle throttle. I'm just gonna smack it down. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Boom. Instant. Everything you want. All 526 PS, I think it is. It's like 440 kilowatts or something in that area. It's plenty. 130 kilowatts on the front motor, 360 kilowatts on the rear motor. I don't know the exact numbers. It honestly doesn't matter. The car weighs 6,300 pounds. It's pretty crazy. And we are just going to set the lane centering and driver assistance here and cruise along. We don't want to go crazy. Of course, there's a police officer up here. Yeah, so in terms of specs on the Spectre, now that we're on the highway cruising, I can tell you a little bit more about it. This car, again, the spec is just about 600 grand, 420,000 base. The most of them will be in that 5 to 550, 5 to 600 range is where you're going to see the majority of the early builds. As time goes on, I think we're going to see special editions. I think we're going to see a black badge. I think we're going to see a lot of upgrades to this car. Again, BMW always starts base and builds up, unlike Tesla that starts with the craziest one and comes down. So I think we'll see it start base and come up, and yeah, I don't know what to say. The price is the price. It's worth it. If you can afford this car, if you're not, people that are buying this car not really thinking about the price, but you probably do want to know, are you getting a more perceived quality, more perceived luxury than a BMW i7? And I will just say they are not in the same league at all. This is a whole nother level. The starlight in the door, the starlight in the dash, the shooting stars up here are incredible. The way you can brighten the stars here and turn more on with this button, it's just amazing. The spirit of ecstasy out the front, always guiding our way in this car. There is no comparison to any other car on the market. There's no other electric vehicle with this much quality, this much brand presence, this much really everything, if I'm honest. It is pretty incredible what this vehicle can do and does. So I've been able to spend, now that the police officer's gone, we got to pick up the pace here a little bit. Let's get up to 65. I've been able to spend quite a bit of time with the Spectre now, and I'll break down my experience for you and a little bit of what I've learned. By the way, I love these air vent controls. They're so hefty. You have to put some weight into them. Everything is notchy. Everything is metal that looks like it's metal. It's all amazing. You have these flutes to close and open the air vents. It's all traditional Rolls Royce, and that's really the magic here is, you know, for 40%, or is it 60% of Spectre owners or reservation holders already own a Rolls Royce. So this is going to be their electric daily vehicle. It's going to be the run around town car, the occasional, you know, maybe trip up to the mountain house or whatever. And there is no better daily car than this if you live in an area with space. I think in LA, in New York, it's still quite big. And it feels big on the road. You get the sense of this massive hood and everything behind you. I mean, we're sat pretty much directly in the middle of the car. It's got huge wing mirrors, pretty bad blind spots. So it's just one of those things you just have to be aware of everything around you as you're driving it. But to be honest, I think people are going to buy these things. Some of them are going to love them. Some of them are going to hate them. Some of them will feel constrained by the range because a Rolls Royce owner should never have to wait on their car. The thing is, a car should never be a compromise. So does this match everything a Rolls Royce owner uses their car for? And I would say for 80 to 90% of owners, absolutely. There are some Cullinan owners that I know, the SUV version. Look at this auto lane change, by the way. We'll just have it do everything on its own. So comfy, so nice. There are some Cullinan owners that I know that do big miles, actually, use their cars 10, 12, 15,000 miles a year. And they bought the Cullinan as their, you know, daily V12 powered SUV, which is crazy. I know to us, it sounds wild, but that's how people use them. And I think there will be electric focused folks that will put miles on these things and will use them. And so in that sense, that's my world that I cover. What's the DC charging like? What's the efficiency like? How does it all work out? And I think, to be honest, it is one of those situations that, well, it's going to be up to the individual and how much road tripping they're actually going to do. So ultimately, we're going to scooch over here without smashing into anyone or anything. Here we go. And let's do it one more time. Again, you have to just be really careful. It's not my car. I don't want to scratch Rolls Royce's cars, so I'm just being extra cautious with this one. It's not like I'm in my Rivian and I just push people off the road. Yeah, I think it's not fair to speculate on who the buyer of this car is going to be, if I'm honest. I think it's really fair to speculate on what are the capabilities of the car, lay it out on the table, and then let owners or future owners make the decision whether or not it's good for them or not. And so let me walk you through what I did with it. Well, first thing, I went through a whole driving experience with this car. I drove it in the city, I drove it on the highway, and I really didn't do any performance driving. I just thought that that was a little bit not the point of this car, and honestly, there was no opportunity for me to rip it around. We could have gone up into the mountains last night, but the roads are really tight here in the mountains outside of Greenville, and there's animals, and I just didn't want to be that guy who took a Rolls Royce. You know, they only have 2 marketing cars here, or press cars in this case. I just didn't want to be that guy to like risk anything to smash it up. Not that I'm worried driving this car. I really do drive this car just normally, and I do enjoy it for what it is, of course. So yeah, let's just kind of ease it through the corner. Really nice, really stable performance. It's just awesome and very nicely controlled through here. You can feel the weight, but it is totally acceptable, I would say. So no issues from my side here. Okay, let me walk you through what I did with it. I'll talk about the driving stuff in a bit. We'll get there. But I also want to talk about the charging performance and also the efficiency, starting first with the efficiency. I took this car on a 70 mile per hour loop style efficiency test, not a full range test. I didn't want to pile the miles on the car. Rolls Royce didn't want the miles on the car for a full range test. I'm like, eventually we have to do that. And they're like, yeah, we want to get you a car with a fresh battery, with, you know, the ultimate range, everything. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You know, if we're ever able to do a range story in the future, let me know. And I think that they're pretty interested in doing it. It just, this spec, this car being a pre-series car that's been charged to 100% a bunch, and the battery may have lost a little bit, I don't know. Yeah, they just didn't want to risk it for this event. And I thought that's fair, that's a fair compromise. But I at least took it at 70 miles an hour on a loop. And on the loop, it did 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour, which is good, but not incredible. And, you know, it's one of those things where, does it matter? And for most people, no. You're going to charge this thing at home and you're good. It's also got a freaking massive grill up front. It's slab-sided. It's got all the sound deadening in the world. It weighs 6,500 pounds. Only 900 pounds of payload in this thing, by the way. So you can't put like 4 huge people in here. Yeah, you'd be over payload if you do that. And that's okay. So, yeah, I kind of don't want to be in the right lane behind all these trucks in their blind spots. Let's just scooch over this way. We're on here for 4 or 5 miles. This is fine. Yeah, so okay, so that's the efficiency. And I knew it wasn't going to be great. It only gets 266 miles EPA out of 102 kilowatt hour usable battery pack. And I think that's, you know, more than acceptable, more than fine for this use case. Again, most Rolls Royce owners only drive a couple thousand miles a year. They're not like me that do a couple thousand miles a week. So we're good here. The other points of the Rolls Royce, of course, really good spec X3M competition that we've been following here. That is a good looking car for sure. The other points here, of course, have to do with the charging. And it has a 48 amp onboard charger, which at first glance, you're like, this is a $600,000 car. How does it not have an 80 amp onboard charger? It should be the best at everything. And one thing with Rolls Royce that I have to remind myself from time to time is that they're never the leaders in tech. They've always waited for technology to mature, to bake, to make sure it's totally perfect before they implement it in their vehicles. For example, this is the first Rolls Royce to have lane centering. So I can put it here like I showed you earlier, and now it's driving itself. In level 2, it's, you know, you still have to have hands on the wheel. It does have eye tracking as well, and you might be able to see that with the GoPro, the lights pop up. It's imperceivable to me, the infrared lights. But it is something to be mindful of that, you know, finally Rolls-Royce got lane centering. They also got Apple CarPlay and Spotify built in and all of these great things. Speaking of which, I actually have to sign myself out of Spotify. If I can remember how to do this. Let's think. Oh, I don't know. So I will home, log out, boom. You sure you want to log out? Yes. I can only do that when I'm stopped. You got me, let me get this far. And now you care about my safety? So we'll do that when we get back. But we're almost to the Performance Center. So, okay, so it's efficient, it charges okay, AC charging okay. For most people, they won't care. Rolls-Royce recommends an 80% daily charging limit, just like the rest of the BMWs, and I highly encourage Rolls-Royce owners to set that there if they're watching this video, which they're not. The DC fast charging performance is pretty much an hour, dead to full, not bad. The curve isn't incredible. It's still a 400-volt system architecture, so it sits at 195, 200, 205 kilowatts to about 40%. So if you're on a road trip, you really do want to get this thing dead. It has manual preconditioning and automatic preconditioning based off of navigation inputs, so all good here. Also has route planning built in. This is all iDrive 8.5, and it's okay. It's not amazing, but at least it's livable, and that's all you can ask for from a Rolls-Royce, because again, they've never been the tech brand. So the highway stuff is amazing in this car from the driving side. And again, I've mentioned all of this in the out-of-spec reviews video, but the most impressive bit to me is the noise performance. Just cruising down the road in the Spectre, you hear absolutely nothing. You feel absolutely nothing. You have to remind yourself that you're driving, especially with the driver assistance is so good and so competent at staying in the middle of the lane that, you know, it's just you're in a cocoon. And I said this about the i7, but you won't understand this unless you drive the car or ride in the car. You hear and feel nothing. It's crazy. It is the quietest car on the planet. I thought the i7 was the quietest car on the planet. This is a whole another level. Crazy. Indescribably crazy how quiet and refined and removed from the outside world you are. I was screaming at the window and I was talking to Francie, and she rolled up the window and she's like, I couldn't hear you. I mean, I wasn't mad at her. I was just testing it, of course. I never get mad. What would I have to get mad about? We had a Rolls Royce Spectre for the day. It's been amazing. Yeah, it predicts your range based off of your route in the navigation system, which is awesome. Automatic lane change to the right here, working wonderfully. You don't have to put the turn signal up all the way, but of course you can, like I just did there. And it's one of those cars that you get in, you daily drive. It's absolutely amazing. I encourage you to watch the out of spec reviews video for the full in-depth tour, if you will, and everything, but I just want to show you a little bit of power. Let's go down to 60 miles an hour here. So here's 60 and wide open. Stands up the nose, and then you hit the brakes and it digs the nose into the ground. Should do a couple hundred kilowatts of regen. As we come off the highway here, we can kind of bring up the speed. There's a little bit of sound in the background I've put on for effect, but I normally turn that off. It's so soft in the corners, but you can feel it really lean over and just have so much control of the body considering the weight of this thing. So even when you start moving it around a little bit, yeah, it's heavy, it moves, it rolls. It's almost got a very Rivian-like character because the Rivian's heavy and still performs quite great. And this is just on another level. This is so much more comfortable and so much, I would say, better tuned. The chassis engineers did an amazing job. And that's the thing that actually bothers me about Rolls Royce is how amazing the engineering is, and no one wants to talk about it. They just want to talk about color, spec, trim, bespokeness, and I'm like, that's cool. Spec your car however you want. I want to know how it was engineered. I want to know why the roll stabilization of this car is only 12 volt instead of 48 volt, because it used aluminum carriers to the chassis, and the 48 volt system that from the i7 would snap the aluminum, because in the i7 they use steel connection points, and Rolls-Royce didn't want any steel on the chassis of this vehicle because of NVH. That stuff's interesting to me. The fact that it uses the 6-phase motor out of the iX, but with slightly different tuning to make it even more less responsive, more wafting, more comfortable. And to me, these are all the things that really matter. I love the brake pedal of this vehicle. I love the accelerator pedal of this vehicle. I was gonna say I really love the steering wheel, and I do, but I think it should be thinner. It's quite a big wheel, which it needs to be for a Rolls Royce, but it's just still quite thick. There's a prototype X5 behind me. Oh wow, so cool being here in Greer, South Carolina at the BMW factory and enjoying the Spectre. So there you go. That's my quick drive of the Spectre. I have to give it back. The whole video is on Out of Spec Reviews. It is the most refined experience I've ever had, the quietest experience, the most comfortable, and it's engineered extremely well. I hope this is just the start of me being able to explore the Spectre with you over my lifetime. It's one of those special cars, the first fully electric Rolls Royce, and it is tuned perfectly. They absolutely nailed it. And of course, the power is great as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on another one soon. Bye-bye.